What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw Forward TV. All right, so before I get into this video, I want to give a big shout out to the brother Anthony, aka Tony07, for the donation to the channel via the Cash App. Much respect to you for showing love to Too Raw Forward TV. So, I had a question. One of three different requests. He had three different donations/requests. It's just my opinion, y'all. And this ain't like facts or etched in stone, nothing like that. I gotta keep repeating that. Whatever I think isn't law, it's just an opinion. I'd like for you guys to give your opinions as well in the comment section. He asked me what if Kobe had won his sixth championship in 2011? Now that's an interesting take on this as far as question, because usually people ask, what if Kobe won his sixth ring if they had beat the Celtics in 2010. No, excuse me, not 2010, in 2008, or if they had beaten the Pistons in 2004. But this question, he's asking me, what if, as defending NBA champions, they had won the title in 2011? Now, to me, this is significant. This would have had monumental impacts on further enhancing Kobe Bryant's legacy. And as a matter of fact, not only does it elevate Kobe's status as an all-time great, I think that in this instance, you could even argue it challenges Michael Jordan's supremacy as the consensus GOAT. Because, number one, you got to make the assumption that if they won the championship in 2011, in reality, they were knocked out, I think, with the second round by the eventual champion Mavericks. This would mean they would, I'm assuming, beat the Mavericks. Let's just go with beating the Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals, right? And then they would face off against, more than likely, the Miami Heat. Now, at the time, LeBron Ramon James formed what was a super team. LeBron would have been seen, and this is before the media got their clutches on, as far as influence, as far as media outlets. He was very powerful, but the narrative at the time was LeBron was a villain. It's as hard as it is to believe to some of the younger fans, LeBron was the villain. Remember, teams were booing him outside of Miami when he was going to arenas, especially the first half of the season. And people thought he was, trying to get a cheap ring. So if he actually beat LeBron, because it would have been Kobe versus LeBron, because remember, the league had been pushing for that finals matchup for years, at least since 2008. We never saw it in real life. But if this actually happened in 2011, I get a sense, outside LeBron fans, quote unquote, most basketball fans would have been rooting for Kobe, because Kobe stuck with the organization, even when it was thin, as far as, you always have what you call, people love you when everything is going right, but when things are going wrong, that's when you see who your real friends are. I don't know if you ever heard this expression, but there's an old expression, and it's very true. Victory has 1,000 fathers, but defeat is an orphan. Meaning that when everything's going right, everybody's there. Everybody wants to take credit. Everybody wants to circle around. But when things go bad, they scatter. And we see that all the time. So by Kobe being the guy who, and yes, he did go on radio and out of frustration said he wanted to be traded. Yes, he did. But he didn't. By that, I mean he didn't force it. He stuck with the organization. He was just tired of wasting his prime years. Remember, in 2006, the only other halfway good player on the team was really, other than, was Fisher still the team? I can't remember whether Derek Fisher was still there or not. But I don't think so. But anyway, the only other good player was Lamar Odom. Really. But anyway, Kobe stuck with the team. LeBron, when things got tough, he left. Right? No matter what LeBron fans say, that's the narrative back then. So if he beats LeBron James in the finals, that is an action, and that is talking points that Kobe fans would always have against LeBron fans. If that were to happen, you could never take that away. And those are chips that history would have on Kobe's side if he actually beat this supposed super Miami Heat team with his Laker team, which was organically built. Secondly, and I'm aware of this, if he was to win the championship in 2011, that would mean that he would have had or been part of two different three-peats. The Shaq and Kobe one, and then this one. And then to one-up Mike, he would have done it with a totally different secondary player. Scotty was always there. For Mike, as amazing as it is, Scotty was always there. With George Mikan, people forget that he three-peated. There was always the core of George Mikan, Jim Pollard, Slater Martin, and Vern Mickelson, right? With Bill Russell, who eight-peated, there was always great players around, whether you're talking about Bob Cousy, Sam Jones, Casey Jones, Tommy Heinsohn, John Havlicek. Isn't it sad all these guys are gone except for Bob Cousy? Just Bill Sharman. But anyway, Kobe would have done it with Pau Gasol, who is, we all know, is a great player, Hall of Famer, but he's a lesser player than Shaq. So he did it with a secondary, a totally different partner, let's put it like that, a totally different partner in crime. That would have put him in a totally different trajectory. Then, and his finals record would have been 6-1 instead of 5-2. And he would have tied Michael for championships while having more ultimately more points. Now that's subject to debate because you could argue, well, if he had his sixth championship, would he have played as long? Probably, because he would want to beat Mike. He, I know his goal was to match him, but if he got his sixth ring at, what would that have been? Age 30, 2011, 30, 33? I think it was 33. Birthday hadn't come yet, so 32. He was just 32 years old with 6 championships. Mike got his when he was 35. And if they're three-peating, right? Now, I do think the Lakers' contract, Kobe's contract ultimately hurt their ability to sign other players. But, it is really difficult to extend a three-peat into a four-peat, but maybe that would have drawn other players to come to the organization. There would have been the signals that the Lakers were a declining franchise. Maybe they could have gotten some meaningful role players. I can't remember what the market looked like back then as far as availability. But perhaps they could have tried to go for a four-peat. But ultimately, I think age would have caught up with the team. But still, if they were able to three-peat, man, that would have done wonders for Kobe Bryant's legacy. And it would have kept him more as longer in place as the undisputed king of the NBA. When Kobe Bryant started losing in the finals or losing the playoffs, I should say, they ultimately stopped making the playoffs, and LeBron started winning titles. The league shifted its focus to LeBron. If Kobe could have won a championship in 2011, and let's say I'm trying to think here. I mean, maybe you could even argue, trying to look at the NBA, trying to remember the NBA landscape back there. Let's look at something here. trying to think if the Lakers could have made a trade for somebody else, another big man. But I don't know if they could have done that because who was on that? Who was on that team then? Middle World Peace. Um, I think I'm kind of going into Lululand, trying to like uh, go too deep into this. But let's just stay on subject here. Ultimately, it would have done wonders for Kobe Bryant's legacy, man, and he would have been legitimately in the GOAT conversation. You couldn't ignore it. You couldn't ignore it anymore. You know, I mean, he already should be like at least in that conversation. Me personally, I think he's a top 3 to 4 all-time player. Me personally, at the very least, top 5. But he definitely has a case for top 3. Um, Me personally, I mean, my top 3 are Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So that's why I can't put him in my top 3. But if he won a 6th championship, then you could definitely make an argument he's at the very least top 3. It'll be harder to argue against it. Then you look at the level of competition that he's doing it against. That's what really elevates him. The man already has beaten more 50-win teams in the playoffs than any other player in NBA history. Then you look at the final opponents. Yes, earlier on in his career, you could argue, you know, the Pacers of 2000 wasn't even the best Pacer team in the Reggie Miller era. That Sixer team, although in 2001 it was heroic what Iverson did, you know, when it comes to personnel, they weren't the most talented team. And those Nets teams in 2002 and 2003 with the Spurs, they weren't the most talented team. But if you look at the teams that Kobe went against in the second actual repeat, they lost to a Boston Celtics team at its peak, which was really a team that was headed by potentially 4 Hall of Famers. You got Kevin Garnett, who's a Hall of Famer, Paul Pierce, who I believe is a Hall of Famer. Who else is on that team? Ray Allen is a Hall of Famer. And Rajon Rondo is at least a borderline Hall of Famer in the way that things have been put, like as far as the bar being lowered. You could argue there's 4 Hall of Famers on that team. Beat them in 2010. And then they beat an Orlando Magic team in 2009 that knocked off LeBron and his Cavaliers team. Then if he was to beat that Maverick team, which won 58 games that year, I believe, and Dirk Nowitzki playing at a very high level, one of the great shooting / team defense teams of all time, that Mavericks team. Hey, his legacy goes through the roof. And then if he beat the Miami Heat team, what can you say about it? Going through that Western Conference, as opposed to what LeBron's been doing during his Cleveland years, the second time beating up on the weakest Eastern Conference since the 1950s. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. Tell me what you guys think.